Welcome back to our channel. If you are new here, I'm Katie.
I'm Steph.
We are a married lesbian couple and we are currently in the process of building a tiny home for a small island here in British Columbia, Canada.
To give a little recap for anyone who is just joining us, we have been on this journey since we bought our remote property back in the spring of 2022. Over the past 3 years, we've been slowly turning this dream into a reality, and last summer we finally started the process of building a luxury tiny home for our waterfront lot on the Southern Gulf Islands. We're working with a local builder here in BC, and we've spent the past 9 months pouring everything we have into this project. It's all coming together, and our goal is to spend the summer enjoying our beautiful piece of paradise.
All right, we are long overdue for an update. I think the last time we chatted tiny home things was probably back in January. It's been a while. So much has happened. So yeah, today we're going to fill you in on everything that's been going on over the past few months.
Yes, a lot has happened in the meantime, through the winter, into the spring. We were hoping we'd be a little bit further along in some ways, but in other areas, things have moved along pretty quickly. So it's been a bit of a wild journey of
Yeah.
trying to figure things out as we go. If you know us at all, you know that we like to be prepared and we like to be kind of in control of things. And in situations like this, you have to kind of accept the fact that you can't be in control of everything, and things are going to change and things are going to have to be adjusted, and that's okay. So we're on our toes. We are trying to stay as agile as we can. And I think we're doing a pretty good job, but also we are getting antsy for things to be finished so we can get out there and enjoy the property.
Yeah, it has been a lot for sure. That's such a good way of putting it. It's been a good life lesson overall, a lesson in patience and giving up control, like you said, which neither of us are good at. And we're trying to be really patient. We're also trying to be just really positive about the whole process. And we keep getting told by everyone that, this is a big project and things take time and all of that. And we're like, yes, we know, but we're just trying to have a good attitude. But yeah, it's taking a long time, of course. Things like this always take a long time. I think everyone says, a build project or a renovation, anything like that, it's always going to take longer than you think. It's always going to cost more than you think. And both of those things are absolutely
Check
true.
and check.
So yeah, it's been stressful to say the least, but we are hanging in and we're so close to the finish line.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that really keeps us going through all of this, is knowing that we are really close. And every time we get a little bit of, good news, it's a big celebration, because it just means we're a little bit further along in the process. Yeah. And a lot of where we're at right now, which we will get into in more detail, is a little bit of a domino effect of this needs to happen before this can happen, before this can happen, before this can happen.
But then once it does, it all falls into place.
Yes.
Hopefully.
Ideally.
Yeah. Hopefully. Yeah. We are filming this at the very end of April, and we are, just itching to get out there. Now that the weather's nice, it's like, oh, we want to be out there.
Days are getting long, weather's getting nice. It is just the perfect time to be out there enjoying the property, enjoying the weather, enjoying the ocean. So fingers crossed we can do that really soon.
Yes, as soon as possible. So to dive right in, first update is going to be on the tiny house itself, which exciting news is it's done.
Yeah.
It's done. The tiny house is done. Which honestly, that was the easiest part of this whole process.
The build part was definitely the easiest part, because what, like we said about kind of a, controlled environment, that's exactly what's happening with the tiny house. It was built off-site in a warehouse. So through the winter, all of that was happening while it would have been tricky to build in person on the island itself. So I think we did very well in choosing to go that route, because it enabled us to build through the winter without any delays or any real problems. And everything's great, and we're really excited to see it in person. And we've been getting lots of photos, updates and things like that, and we're just so happy with it.
Yeah, our builders have been incredible, and the house looks amazing. We'll share some update photos here. It's been so cool to just see the whole process, and it honestly came together very quickly. So that part has been easy, and it looks great, and we can't wait to see it. That's honestly been the smoothest part of this whole this whole process.
After we picked out all the tile and everything, when it was in the
build,
builder's hands, they were ready to go.
Yeah. So along with the tiny house, we also have done an auxiliary office pod, kind of like a backyard office building. That's really exciting. We're so excited to have just an additional space that's separate from the main tiny home, where we just have some separation for work, and we're also going to have it double as like a flex room, guest space, all kinds of things like that. So they sort of moved on to that after they were done with the tiny home. So that's still coming together. It's probably honestly going to be finished close this week. And yeah, we can't wait to see that as well. We'll share some progress pics here. But it looks really good, and we're so happy with the design. We got to work alongside the builder in designing the space to just really make it functional and just really unique to our needs. There's tons of storage. There's great desk space, a huge window that's going to look out over the water. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah, it's in a spot that's going to be absolutely beautiful as an office and a guest space. So we're definitely looking forward to that and having both spaces work together.
Yeah. So final step with our builder is to just do a final walkthrough. So we had the option of doing that kind of digitally or to go in person. And we are going to drive up and go see it in person because why not? We want to see it in person. And that's kind of the final step of the process with them. So we are heading up to the Okanagan next week, and we're going to do an in-person walkthrough of both the tiny home and the office pod. We're hoping everything will be complete. I know we had a delay on a piece of furniture, so the couch might not be in.
It's
in
close
the office
though.
pod. It's close.
I'm
It
getting
could be there.
updates that it's getting, in this fulfillment center to that spot. So we could time it just right where it arrives a couple days before, or even on the day that we're there. So,
or potentially immediately after, which would be unfortunate. But it was just really hard to plan ahead. So there might be some final touches that aren't like completely done when we go, but we still want to go see it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I think it was really important to see it in person. Because we are impatient, and we don't want to wait until it's on the property to get to see it. So there's that. We're just excited. It's a good excuse for a little road trip up to the Okanagan too.
Totally. Because at this point, we're just kind of waiting for things to be done, so it gives us something to do.
Yeah, and also just to see it in person versus photos, or like a video walkthrough or something. It's so different. It's different. Any kind of space like that, it's so hard to know until you're actually in the space, which is why we went to visit this builder before we chose to go with them, because we wanted to see the tiny houses in person and get a real feel for just how much space and what the layout is and everything like that. So we're excited to do that this time in our space.
Yeah, I'm very excited. I want to go just like measure everything, take photos of everything, because we are currently looking for decor and all the things that we kind of need to finish the home and the office. And there are so many things that we just don't know because we haven't seen it. So I'm excited to just be in the space and make sure that everything feels the way we want it to feel. And that kind of helps us to get all those finishing touches in order.
Yeah, for sure. Because, when we're on the island, these Gulf Islands are small. They don't have a Home Depot just around the corner. No. So it's going to be important that we get the things that we need for the space before we go and kind of settle in and everything.
And that they're the right pieces.
Yeah, because,
for sure. Going and replacing something, like, it's just not as simple as like, oh, I need to return that for a different size, because it'd be like, it's not going to be that simple.
Yeah, so getting those measurements and just seeing what we can do with the space before we actually get it on the island is going to be really useful.
Yeah, and then in terms of the timeline, we will get to that later in this video, in terms of when everything is going to be complete.
Because I would love to know.
Yeah, short answer, we don't know. But moving on to the property itself, this has been where things are a little more complicated and what has been the most difficult part of this process, which we knew ahead of time. We bought like a bare lot, and there was a lot that needed to be done, and it's taken a long time. And all that being said, we've come so far, and I'm so impressed and so happy with everything that's been done, and we are so close.
Yeah, close. It's tricky to get services into any lot that has nothing on it. But when you put that on an island that has ferry access only, it gets even more complicated. Luckily, we've connected with some really great people who are on the island. So we've got, a couple people that are there and are able to kind of swing by the property if needed to grab a photo or to do a little bit here and there, versus having to have someone take a ferry every time they need to do something. In conjunction with that, we have some people over in the Victoria area that are also doing things like bigger projects like the Septic and stuff like that. So, we haven't really been out there to
We haven't been out there since February.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not since any of the work has actually really started on the property. So
No, so we haven't seen any of it in person.
And we've just been coordinating with people over text and email and phone calls and sending photos and sending, documents that are marked up with this is approximately where. And
yeah, it's definitely been a lot of work to coordinate. I would say that's probably what we underestimated the most.
The time commitment to,
Yeah, the amount of time it's taken up, the amount of just our capacity that has been put towards that, and not really anything left for anything else. Like, it's just, it's our whole life right now. It has been our whole life for months now. It's so much work. It's just daily. It's just, there's so much to manage and organize and coordinate and all of that. And us being on top of it helps things move quicker. So we're obviously making sure that we're on top of things as much as possible.
Yeah, prioritizing.
Yeah. So let's, I guess, go through each thing and give you an update, show you some photos of what's been going on. The first thing, I guess, is just like prepping the site itself. That has been an enormous amount of work because if you've watched our previous videos, like we couldn't even drive up onto the property a couple times ago that we went. Like, we didn't have a driveway. So a driveway, prepping an actual spot for the tiny home, which includes leveling the ground and putting down a bunch of gravel, things like that. Same thing for the office pod. There's just been a lot of prep work to do. We haven't had to take out too many trees. I think maybe just like one in the driveway and one in the main spot. But it's been, I say it, we didn't do any of that. We have a very nice gentleman who is doing it for us. He hasn't taken out too many trees.
Yeah.
But it's been so much work. He's done an excellent job.
Yeah.
I can't wait to go see it. It's gonna look so different.
Yeah.
The last time we were there, I was just taking as many photos as I could because I was like, this is the last time it's ever gonna look like this.
Yeah.
Just like completely wild and just, like it's gonna be totally different.
Yeah, now there's a bit of infrastructure.
Which is good. That's what we need.
Yeah, we have photos of the driveway, and it is a long driveway.
Yeah.
So that whole thing has been, set with gravel and compacted down and everything like that. So we won't have the issue of that soft ground that we weren't able to drive on.
Yeah.
Also, it'll make the delivery of the house itself a lot more smooth.
And making sure it was wide enough for the home and everything to get through, making sure there's no trees hanging down, anything like that.
Yeah, so that's all great. And then the site prep itself. Of course, there's special considerations too, because we moved it down to a little bit of a hill. So instead of having it at the top of the property, which was already kind of flat and level, there was a little bit more kind of creating that space, leveling it out, and then having the wall, like a retaining wall, essentially, to ensure just like the safety of that space.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been no easy feat. There was a lot to do. So that's been a big project, and it is essentially done, right? We haven't been there. We haven't seen it. I believe it's all finished.
I think there was a little bit more gravel that had to go down to really make sure it was compacted and it was solid and can handle the weight of the house. And then also just kind of a way to get the house into that spot was the other consideration, which I talked to our guy who's doing the site prep about yesterday. And yeah, he basically said that he's going to be there on the day of delivery, so he can help out. Oh, I forgot to tell you that part.
That's so nice.
Just in case, so he can kind of get his excavator in to pull if it's a little bit of a tight squeeze and things like that. So, we're going to be covered for that, which is really great.
Yeah, that's very great. Yeah, okay. So that was kind of the biggest piece. I don't know. Each piece is big in its own way, but that's been a big part
physically
of it.
The biggest piece.
Yeah, probably. So next is a septic system. So we've talked about this in other videos, but in terms of like waste management, we decided to install a septic system from scratch. We didn't have anything on the property. We didn't want to mess around with doing like a composting toilet and gray water and all that. We just wanted to have a system in place for now and for future.
Yeah.
So honestly, that wasn't as difficult as I thought it would be. It's been fairly simple. They've installed it now. We basically have septic tanks that are down below the house because everything needs to like flow downwards into the tanks. And then there are, I might not be explaining this properly, but then there are pipes like underneath the ground that then take everything out of the tanks into like a dispersal
field.
Yes. Yeah, in the back of the property.
Yeah, so there's basically a large biofilter disbursement unit that's on another part of the property. So the tanks pump to that, and then basically it's all kind of filtered out naturally through this system. So
it's honestly
it's very
really cool. Yeah. Once we're on the property, we can do a walk around and show all the services and kind of how they work and where they are and everything like that. But yeah, that was honestly not as expensive as we thought it might be. It was not as difficult structurally as we thought it might be. So that was a win.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's all completed. It just needs to be hooked up to power, so it's not like working yet. But it's installed, which is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So next is setting up our water. We have a well on the property already, which we've talked about before. So we weren't starting from scratch there, which is amazing. But we still needed to get in a well pump to actually have it be something we can hook up to a home and also do a water filtration system and everything like that. So the main roadblock we hit here, which, we didn't really a lot for, was that we were told pretty early on in working this all out that we needed to have like a pump house shed to kind of house all of the water equipment. So we weren't ready to have another structure. We thought, okay, maybe we can work that into the tiny home or work it into the pod or something like that. And that didn't work, so we did need to also install a shed, which was kind of a curveball and another expense, and just like something that was difficult because we aren't there and can't facilitate that ourselves. So that one was a bit tricky.
Yeah, we ran through a lot of options. One of those options was that I would go out and build it.
Yeah.
And which was, the thing we were going with for a while, and I was all ready to do it, and I had done tons of research, and then it kind of became clear that that wasn't the best option.
Not because you can't build a shed, but we were looking at all kinds of like kit sheds that you can
insulate and
and kind of do a DIY version. But ultimately, it can get really stormy on the island, and we were just thinking like, what if we had something that wasn't sturdy enough, and then it just blows over and all of our water it's just like too important to mess around with,
especially because we're also housing our electrical panel in there, our main panel from the transformer from the pole basically. So you don't one bad storm and our power and water are completely knocked out and have to get rebuilt. It was too risky.
Wouldn't be good. So we moved on to looking at local companies who could do something like that for us. Again, it's tricky being on the island. Lots of places don't deliver to the Gulf Islands, don't service the Gulf Islands, anything like that. So it's just hard to even get anyone to do that for you. But we found this great company on Vancouver Island that does prefab kits for sheds and bigger kind of bunkies and things like that. And they were amazing to work with. We went from having no idea what we were going to do about this shed to having a shed ordered and delivered and set up within 2.5 weeks. They were amazing.
Yeah, and what I really love about this one was because we obviously have to have the equipment stored in a way that it won't freeze. So the shed was going to have to be insulated, and we'll have to put in a small heater just to keep it above freezing in the winter. But this shed is like a log cabin essentially, and the walls themselves are thicker wood, so they're naturally insulated with the wood. And then we did extra insulation in the floor and roof. So we're good to go with that in terms of insulation. It just needs the heater, which our electrician can kind of help us set up with, when they do all the electrical panel and outlets and stuff in the shed. So it's going to be, it's properly done. It looks great. It's going to function perfectly, and it'll just be that extra peace of mind so that we won't be worrying in a storm, while we're in the city, if we still have a shed.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, it was the right call for sure, and it ends up working out really well. They had a delivery going to our island coming up, and we kind of hopped on that, and then they contract out to another company to come do assembly, and they sent someone out really quickly, which was amazing, and they just spent the day on our property assembling it for us, and it looks so good. We can share some photos here, but I'm really happy with it. We will still need to paint and treat the wood and kind of finish it ourselves, but that'll be a fun little project that we can do when we're out there. So we have a little shed, and I'm happy about that. So the last thing that has kind of ended up being the most complicated and most difficult thing, which we didn't expect, is just the electrical and just bringing power to the site.
Yeah, we definitely thought this would be a little bit more straightforward just because we had power lines going through an easement on our property. That being said, there's all sorts of specifics that need to be in place, like where the poles are located, where you can pull from, wires going underground and things like this. So, we had to work with an electrician and also BC Hydro, which is like the governing body of electrical in the entire province. So there's obviously protocol when it comes to that, and then also protocol when it comes to the electrician. Plus, there's Technical Safety BC to make sure everything is done properly. So there's there's a process of steps
and it's
that
a lot
have to be followed.
Waiting for permits and waiting for confirmation, and it's just taken longer than we expected.
Yeah. And then poles going in, and so we're basically, for the electrical, we've got BC Hydro, Tech Safety, the electrician, and the guy who's doing our site prep all working together to get this in place, and the shed. So it's a lot of things coming together for the electrical to happen. And then with that, there's a lot of things hinging on the electrical. So the water and the septic being finished, and obviously the house having power. But
but all the services need power in order to work. The well pump needs power in order, so we need the power for that to be installed, and we need the power on for the septic system to be finished and everything like that. So it is a big project because you have to run underground cables to each site that you're going to bring power to, and it's a lot of work, and there's a lot going on, but we are working our way through it, and that is kind of the last piece of the puzzle. And once that's completed, then everything can be finished, and we are so close. We are so close. And I think the only photos I think we have are maybe of our pole. I think that's it, right?
I think so.
Our cute little electrical pole. But otherwise, that's kind of what we're waiting on. And once that's done, we'll be done. We are literally just waiting to schedule the delivery of our home. Once we go and do our walkthrough and sign off on everything, it'll be just ready, waiting for us whenever we want it. And we're getting really close.
We are. It's feeling real.
The closer we get, though, the harder it feels in a way, because I'm just impatient and antsy and just anxious for it all to be done, and just...
It's also hard to plan around because when we don't know, we have an approximate idea, we have time windows of how long something could take, but we can't really plan for it. We don't really want to go anywhere else or do other things or plan if we can get over there earlier. So it's a little bit of a waiting game, and I think we're just gonna have to make the most of our time in the city before we get out there, and be a little bit flexible, be a little bit
easygoing about it. We'll try to be easygoing about it. But I think we just really want to be out there for the summer. So the closer summer gets, the more we're just anxious for it all to be finished, because we just can't wait to enjoy it. I can't wait to be there and enjoy it and just spend time setting everything up and just be out there. I just can't wait.
It's going to feel really nice.
It's going to feel so good.
And obviously it's going to all feel worth it. And I think that's going to be the most rewarding part, is just doing all of this work, and doing it in the way we have will just feel extra, like a big accomplishment once it's all complete. I think it'll be great.
Very rewarding for sure. I can't wait. So next step, we are going to take you along for our little walkthrough and our little visit up to the warehouse where our house is waiting for us. So that's exciting. And then who knows from there, we will just be waiting patiently. So cross your fingers that everything goes smoothly. We could use all the good vibes, all the positive vibes. Just that the last few bits all work out well. All right.
Thanks so much for watching, and be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any of our other content when it comes to the house and our walkthrough and the property itself, because we are just around the corner, and we will have lots more for you soon.
And if you have any questions, we're trying to give you what we feel like is the most interesting in terms of updates, but if you have any questions at all, leave them in the comments, and we always post question boxes over on Instagram too, so let us know what you want to see, what you want to hear about, what you want to know more about, and we can always do another Q&A coming up too. All right. Thank you so much, and we will see you soon. Bye. Bye.